Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson. This is a special edition of the Gridiron Report. It's what I'm looking for. It's what I'm looking for when Texas Tech takes on West Virginia. It's a 4:30 p.m. Central kickoff on Saturday at the Jones. It's nice for the Red Raiders to be returning home after consecutive games on the road in the Big 12. Some tough matchups against Kansas State and Iowa State. Neither one of them went Texas Tech's way, but here's a winnable game for the Red Raiders against West Virginia. As a matter of fact, I've predicted that Texas Tech will actually beat West Virginia in a very close game there at the Jones. But here's what I'm looking for in order for the Red Raiders to pull off the mini upset as West Virginia is favored by 3 on the road. Look, bottom line is Texas Tech's offensive line has to play well. It didn't really play well against Iowa State, though. When Columbia came in, they looked a lot better. So it's amazing how a quarterback can make your offensive line look better. Henry Columbia, as I think most people, probably every Texas Tech fan out there knows by now, has been announced as the starter against West Virginia. He has been actually one of the bright spots in the last couple of weeks, is that he played a lot of the Kansas State game. Once he got his footing a little bit, he got humming, actually got Texas Tech out to a 21-17 lead in the fourth quarter before the Red Raiders, fell apart. And then against Iowa State, Bowman was back there for 3 quarters and change, but in the last 8 minutes, Columbia led 2 drives. One was the only touchdown scored by the offense. The other one stalled out, but in Iowa State territory. So, Columbia easily, I think it's a no-brainer for anybody who's watched the games, has been the best quarterback this season. Offense has had rhythm with him. He gives the element of being able to run, but all that's fine and well. But if Texas Tech can't protect Columbia, then it doesn't matter who's back there. That's just the honest truth. West Virginia leads the Big 12 in sacks. Texas Tech has given up the least amount of sacks. Something has to give there in that matchup. You got the Stills brothers. You got a freshman, number 90. I can't pronounce his name correctly, but he's leading the team in sacks with 4. Tony Fields is a transfer from Arizona. He used to play with Texas Tech's Colin Schooler there at Arizona. They made quite the linebacker tandem there for the Wildcats. Fields is leading West Virginia in tackles. He's a very fast player, very good player. Bottom line is Texas Tech's offensive line is going to have their hands full. But if they step up and they play a good game, if they're able to open holes for Sir Roderick Thompson, Xavier White, Taj Brooks, Jadarius Townsend, whoever's running the ball, then that'll go a long way towards opening up Texas Tech's play-action game and helping them in their protection. If they can protect, Columbia can find those monster targets out there, and TJ Vasher, who's 6'6", EZ, Eric Izukama, who's 6'3", 220 pounds out there. Very good receivers. Hopefully Keyshawn Carter's returning from an elbow injury against Iowa State. All those things add up. All those things can help Texas Tech win. I think they will help Texas Tech win, but it all starts with how the offensive line performs against that very good West Virginia defensive line. So that's the first. I'd say that's mostly what I'm looking for. But I think then you go to the other side of the ball, defensively, look, Leddie Brown is one of the best running backs in the Big 12. He's averaging 6.4 yards per carry. All right, think about that. 5'10", 5'11", 210 pounds. So he's big, but not like huge. But he runs like a man on a mission. He'll stiff arm you. There's some pretty ugly, or depending on which fan base you are. If you're West Virginia, it looks lovely. But if you're an opposing team, there's some pretty ugly runs with him stiff arming Big 12 defenders to the ground. He also has the speed to break away, and he's also utilized in the receiving game. So he's run for over 500 yards, I think 5 touchdowns, and he's caught I think a dozen passes for around 100 yards and 2 scores. So he is really the focal point of their offense. And then you have Jarret Johnson, Lubbock's own, right at quarterback. I still consider him more of like a steady, Coach Wells described him as a steady quarterback, and that's what he is. He's really steadied the program, steadied that offense. But I don't think he's a guy who, at least not yet in his career, who is prepared to take over a game and beat you with his arm. So I think if Texas Tech can bottle up Leddie Brown enough to where, West Virginia has to win with Jarret Johnson arm, to receiving targets who I think at least one, if not a couple, are banged up and are unproven, at best. So, really, it's in Tech's best interest to focus on stopping Letty Brown. But tell you what, Jarret, I said this in a story on Inside the Red Raiders. In my keys to the game, if Jarret Doege, if it's forcing that situation, they try and make Jarret Doege beat them with his arm, and he does. I'll be the first to tip my cap, but I just don't think he's ready to do that yet. Even against the Tech defense, who struggled against the pass, though I will say the secondary has shown incremental improvement throughout the season. So we'll have to see. I feel like Texas Tech defense and Jarret Doege as a quarterback are similar. I think they've continued to improve, and they've been good enough to allow the team overall to compete, but I wouldn't want to count on either one of those to win a game for you. So I think Texas Tech's going to have to win the game on offense, but and of course, no big mistakes on special teams. That's something else to look for. But I think if this defense can somehow bottle up Letty Brown, something he was unable to do against Breece Hall in Iowa State a couple weeks ago, but if they're able to do that, which I think they will to some degree, then I think it's going to go a long way towards the Red Raiders pulling off, the victory. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm going to be looking for. I expect it to be a really good game. Red Raiders have had a couple weeks to prepare for, like I said, a solid West Virginia squad. So we'll see how it plays out. With that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.